Just sticking to the training right now and understanding why they're so separated all the time. So it's funny. It's really funny how head coaches call themselves head coaches, like, and they're in charge of the team, but they don't feel personal responsibility for developing the goalkeeper as an integral part of the team, because the goalkeeper is by definition part of the 11, and then oftentimes he's only working with 10. So I think it's so funny. So anyways, going back to because I had another pop up, action and movement popped up into my brain when because Miguel brought up the football action reference, and I think it's important that we clarify what movement and action is, and we can, because a movement, because we say, yeah, we need to have more movement, but movement is just like this, me moving my arm and me lifting this pen. Same movement. However, one is interacting with the environment, so an interaction, and the other one is just moving my arm, so movement. So like Miguel said, and Moaz, you also referenced that a football action is an interaction with the football environment. And I think I would hope everyone knows what the football environment looks like: 11 versus 11, one ball, two teams, two goals, rules, et cetera, et cetera. So if this is the starting point, if this is what we want to improve, and for the goalkeeper to be able to better perform in this football environment, it's very interesting to see why they're mostly isolated during training sessions for the majority of the time. And I'm curious to know, because I'm sure we've all seen videos, what is the thinking process of these isolated trainings?
In general, you're saying like in our own application.
I would say in general, so you're gonna have to maybe go back in time when you have just started goalkeeping coaching, and when you were putting together your sessions, the thinking process, and what you were hoping for, what kind of transfer you were hoping for out of these sessions.
You I got a pop up like a memory, like a flashback. Like maybe 2.5 years ago. Um, it was towards the end of COVID or towards like the middle of COVID, where a lot of people were sharing their ideas, and a lot from the FA, a lot from Europe, a lot from the US. People were sharing their sessions, their ideas, and there was goalkeeper coaches, highest level Premier League international coaches, emphasizing skill in isolated training,
And what
developing.
what, is, what does skill mean?
I don't know,
No.
but there was a hope that the skill translates to the game.
Can you give
So
me an example of a skill?
I don't know because I never used the reference
Hmm.
in football.
Maybe we can define skill versus ability. Uh,
The ability. So let's stay on goalkeepers or goal players.
yeah, let's see. Yeah, I agree.
The a goal player's ability, if we're looking at their 100%, is to maintain football actions and maintain the quality of the football actions at 100% for 90 plus minutes, because that's how long the game is.
Okay.
So if we look at ability for a goalkeeper, a goal player, that's what is expected
Is that,
for.
sorry, pop up? Is that the order, or is that the hierarchical order? Maintaining, and what was the other one? Per Performing more, or what did you say?
uh
100% maintaining and something
for
else.
for performing more and then maintaining quality. I mixed it up.
So Okay, so you said maintaining and performing more, but you said it's the other way around. So performing
Yeah.
more is of a higher order than maintaining. Is there something else above these two, or is it just these two?
No, it's the quality of the goalkeeper action. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Missed that part.
improving the quality, so improving the action itself, 100%, maybe get it to 101% if possible, and then comes performing more, and then it's maintaining. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Continue.
Mo, skill. Do you could jump in on that one? Because I have zero reference on skill. You muted.
Miguel, I didn't hear your question, sorry.
We're talking about comparing ability versus skill. We just talked about ability, but I have no knowledge on skill.
Well, I'm assuming what we mean by the skill, it's basically the ability of
Can
the
we have
players.
two words with the same meaning, or is this very confusing?
I think, like for me, I would say ability. The player have the ability to perform this football actions versus a player that doesn't have or have less ability to perform the same football actions. So it is the same football actions, it's just differentiate, I guess, or players with ability to perform them and also player with less ability. And those the one that we need to develop that ability. And which like for me here, I think we're mostly talking about the execution.
Is
So
uh
like
um, is kicking a skill or an ability?
Skill.
kicking a ball, it is definitely an ability. And we find players that have ability to kick a ball like with, for example, different ranges or to a different distance with player that maybe will kick a ball with like maybe still not developing well and uh, longer ranges
Mhm.
kicks again or are we taking also we're not talking about the passing, we're just talking about the kicking because the passing also there is also the decision in it and the communication and the interaction with the
Passing.
environment.
So passing is a skill or an ability?
The passing for me it's ability.
So passing is an ability and kicking is an ability.
Well, yeah, it is like it's I don't exactly understand the question here, Memo. It's not confusing, it's just like kicking it is a basic action, which passing is a football action.
Mhm,
So here is this is the difference between them.
mhm,
It just both of them like require a certain ability, except the passing, it does require also the decision and also the communication to
mhm,
do that because you are to pass to someone on the field, you are also communicating with someone
mhm.
and making a decision based on what you want to achieve with the pass.
Yeah.
Kicking a ball, maybe it's like in this other two decision and also like in the communication. Even it could be like between two or three players on the field sometimes.
Yeah. Because incorporating, uh, communicating, deciding, and executing, this requires a lot of ability. And football action like passing incorporates these three components. So there's an ability there to execute very good passing. This is a little segue, but I think it's very important because right now we're trying to decide, do these two words mean the same or are they different? Because then if we have two words with the same meaning, it's very confusing. And I think we need to be able to distinguish what is ability and what is skill. Now, passing, yeah, we agree that it's an ability because there's a context to passing and there's components within passing. Now, kicking, is it something else than passing or is it an integral part of passing?
Kicking is it is an integral part of passing,
So
definitely.
kicking, I would say kicking is a skill. So the skill of kicking, because it doesn't require the ability to communicate, decide, execute, and incorporate these three. There's a skill like kicking that is incorporated, that is integrated. So it's an integral part of passing. So how you use basic action kicking within the context of football. So how do you use this skill and your ability to use the skill within a context? I think that would be I think right
Yeah,
now be the best way to explain it.
I think I'm leaning toward what also Miguel mentioned earlier. Like I don't use that much the reference that much.
Yeah.
I think we're just stuck here in the definition of the tools and what they means exactly. Because for me or the reference I'm gonna use, like this player has the ability or inability to
Mm-hmm.
perform a football actions. Either I have the ability to perform a football action, or I have less ability, or I am unable to
Mm-hmm.
perform it. Kicking, yes, it is definitely an integral part of passing. And when we come back again to kicking, it is a basic action
Mm-hmm.
because it does lack the communication and also the decision making. In it, there is like the execution of the kicking. It's there, what's lacking communication and decision making. And kicking also, it's lacking the other references like direction, moment, possession, possession, direction, moment, and speed. So, uh, uh, if I want to say, is it a skill or ability? I would definitely like say it's ability.
So
It's not a skill.
kicking is still an
Yeah, it
ability.
is. Yeah, it is ability. I don't think it's a skill because if a skill, like what do you mean exactly, Mimo, by skill? Like if I want to ask you here, I want to put the question back to you. What's the definition of skill for you in general, not just in terms of football, like in general? What does skill mean?
Yeah,
It could be like in trade or whatever.
for it doesn't matter if what for me is. I think we need to get to the truth. That way we can all use the same word with the same definition, and we can distinguish uh because there's skill training all over the world. So we need to know what this means and how
Mhm.
much transfer this is to this. Because a lot of especially the goalkeepers, they are doing bottom up, and we'll explain more of that later. So they're starting down here with basic actions, which is not interacting with the football environment, like Miguel spoke about previously. So the football context is non-existent, and they're hoping these basic actions or the skills these goalkeepers are working on are hopefully going to transfer to their football ability to use these skills in the football context. And then so skill, um, I can actually look up what skill means right now. That way we don't
I had a pop up. If we could talk about it after we define
write
skill,
it down. Yeah.
I have it in my
Yeah,
brain.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, um, let's see.
Yeah, like that's how I understand skill. Like, but again, like what you mentioned, we are here looking for the truth. It doesn't mean what I understand or
So this is
what I.
interesting.
Yeah,
The
it's like skill I understanding as the ability to perform something.
Yep.
That's the exact definition that I found.
Yep. I found the same
Skill,
definition.
yeah, the ability to do something well, but is that in a football context?
Because then why don't we say football skill?
So, do you think, Miguel, when we are doing the isolation here in training with the goalie players, so what's the thinking behind it? Is it to develop the skills that will transfer at some point to the game, or what? I mean, if we talk here even like about the younger goalies, like at the youth level, and which we do a lot of in that isolation, it's more like about the execution here that do coaches work with them. So it's the thinking behind it that they are developing the skills or they are developing ability to perform the football action about the position.
I found a different definition. Sorry to interrupt.
Memo, make me the host real quick.
Yeah,
My screen. So I
gotcha.
could show an example.
Mhm. Let's make you guys all. Anyone can share. Okay, go for it. I found which is what I was trying. I couldn't put in words. Ability is the capacity of a person to perform a specific skill.
Can we all
And,
see my screen?
and skill refers to specific behavior. Yeah, I said we see your screen. What do you guys think
So
about
it's
those two
so
definitions?
is skill so is skill integral part of ability or ability is the integral part of skill?
Because when so when you see a foot we when you look at an action, when you look at a football action, are we what is it that we see? Only the execution, correct?
Yeah.
So and the execution, all it is behavior. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all we see is quote unquote the skill, kicking. However, the ability, so they're the deciding and the communicating that takes place for this skill to become a behavior at the end of the process. We don't see these two processes. Maybe this is why people always say resort to technique training or skill training, because they don't see deciding, they don't see communicating. So this would, to answer your question, this would mean that skill is an integral part of ability. It's a part of something. But
So
this
that's what
is
my pop-up.
this is overarching. Yeah.
Okay.
That was part of my pop-up when we were talking earlier. When Franz Hope came to California to give his World Cup presentation, his whole course, one of the first slides he put up was of Pep Guardiola talking to, I think it was just a quote, but he said something along the lines of, Cruyff showed me how to make football simple, but what he was talking about was the references, the football references, team intention, CDE. So back to what you were talking about, Memo, some coaches are just unconsciously incompetent. They don't know what they don't know. So they don't know how the brain works of a player. They don't know how the brain works. And they don't know that if there is one player interacting with 22 players, that's so much stimulate, they don't know how to contribute to the objective of the game or the team intention. So, but a team intention narrows down the unconscious brain to preferences. The team intention exploit the space in the back line. So now the player, when he's deciding how to contribute to the individual intention, exploit space in the back line.
Mhm.
But if a coach doesn't have the reference in the brain to put that reference in the brain of the player, they're both going to be unconsciously incompetent.
Yeah. At team
Some
level.
coaches,
Sorry. Continue.
incompetent coach, incompetent player. For that reason, the references. If the references aren't there, then the references won't be communicated to the players.
Yeah. At team level, if there's no guiding principle or intention, then it's very difficult to critically evaluate. To have like a measuring stick, to use a metaphor, to have a measuring stick of how well they perform their football actions. But that's another topic of discussion for another day. But I think that would be the best definition. Is ability is the capacity of being able to use a skill and a skill is what did I say a skill was? A skill refers to specific behavior. So a skill is behavior, and your ability is your capacity to utilize these skills. So I think it's I think that gives me the most unconscious ease.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Miguel, what are we looking at here?
Kicking balls at goalkeeper. No. Mo, you asked what's the starting point of sessions? It's football. Obviously, this is not football, but if we look at the game as a starting point,
Can we describe why this is not football first? Because I see a goal and I see balls and we're on a pitch.
there's
Why
not
is
22.
this? It looks like football, but why is this not football?
It's not a two-way game. There's no field players. There's not two. Yeah, there's not 22 players in the field. So this is a very simplified version of football. This is 1 versus 1, or maybe 3 versus 1 if you count the two goalkeepers serving the balls.
Okay, so right now, would we say, based on our definition of skill and ability, or is this a skill training, ability, football ability training? What are we looking at here?
Basic action training.
Basic action training. Okay.
Because there's more than just me on the field. There's two of the goalkeepers. So there's CDE, but it's not as meaningful compared to 22 players in the field.
Mhm.
The goalkeeper knows generally where the balls will be kicked from and shot from. Let's not look at that one. He doesn't know where I'm trying to score, how I'm trying to score on him, what area of the goal I'm trying to shoot on. So there is D deciding how am I going to stop this ball from being kept out of the net from these areas of the field. This
I think a good question would be what is provoking the behavior? Is it the game, or is it because the coach said so?
it's because it said the balls will be kicked from here, so that's what's going to happen.
So
A random situation did not provoke this.
That's another component. All right. So I see you kicking a ball. He's starting laying on the floor. Is this behavior we want from the goal player to start laying down on the floor?
No, but I have to compromise with them because starting on the floor makes them feel good before going into diving from the near post. And I'm okay with that because if we think about the E as a starting point, and that this is training, isolated training, this is to improve basic actions, but also to help them feel good. Dopamine effect, 2 clean dives or 2 clean falls laying on your side, back to back, dopamine effect, and then the next 2 shots come afterwards.
As a head coach, Mo, what are your thoughts on what you're watching?
I don't see too much different than what you mentioned, Memo. I just want to ask Miguel here. So, what is the C, what is the D, and what is the E in here? Like, if you want to define each one of them exactly, and based on what you have designed this activity to be like this. Like, what those are those 2 mannequins in the front? What the represent, and also what behavior you want to provoke from being in a static position, serving that third ball.
I think
I mean,
the
everything
question
here is very.
2 questions ago was the best question. Then we should build off that question. You remember
So
this?
the C is the interaction. Sorry, let me fast forward.
The question I think Mo asked was based on what? Based on what did you design this session?
It was a situation in the game.
Mm.
This was match day plus 2. This was against LAFC, I believe.
Mhm.
And there was a situation where the ball was served from this area, and the ball was also shot from this area in the game. So that's why I'm positioned in this area, and this is why a goalkeeper is positioned there. But the mannequins, I told this goal player serving the ball to make a run either in between the post and the mannequin, or in between both, or going into the back.
Mhm.
That way, this goal player can pass to the goal player running into the box. But they weren't ready for it, so they needed to warm up their basic actions before they could increase the tempo of the isolated training session.
Mhm.
So we stuck with this, just serving from the area, but they know it's going to be shot low to the left from this area. So we're
So was there a goal scored from this game situation?
yeah. And then eventually
Where was the goal scored? Where was the can you maybe mark the spot where the goal was scored?
s-
It's a nice pitch, by the way.
there. And there's also a goal scored here.
And were they the two similar situations? Or are these two completely
So this was a player dribbling down the line, then he dribbles towards the center of the 18,
Uh-huh.
and he passes one of our center backs, and then shot from this area.
Okay. So where's the cutback in this situation?
Right here.
I mean in terms of when it happened in the game.
Sorry, from here.
Okay, so
And
the cutback was there,
the
and
shot.
then he played the ball here, and then he cut inside and he shot.
No, so so the starting point here is where one goal happened. The second goal was around this area. So these are
Okay.
two different starting points for two different situations that happened in the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are two separate situations combined into one activity.
Correct.
Okay. And what is the reasoning to do two separate situations and do one activity out of both of them?
We're short on time.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Short on time.
Sometimes
So, sorry, go ahead, man. Sorry.
oh, sorry, no, you're good.
So, the question here, Miguel, uh, like in this situation or this problem you're trying to solve here, in on based on them, you design the activity like this. Do you think you can integrate this in a 5v5 or 6v6 game and solve those situations or provoke those behavior from your goalie players in a
Yes.
session where you can integrate them with maybe front line, other players that will depict the front line of the opponent team and create a situation where it's like more like a game environment, game reality, and different range of different situation with different range of shots or different type of shots, and also like it's more dynamic and predictable, if you can say, where the maybe the goalie can also you can provoke the decision more and the communication more, and also different execution for like different house for each what.
What did you mean by dynamic? Like more
I mean,
dynamic?
like, yeah, it's like as I would say, it's small-sided game, like a 5v5 or 6v6
The
Dynamic
whole
means more
session.
actions. Dynamic means more actions is what I'm
Yeah,
learning.
and create the same situation, but maybe you can coach each team
Mhm.
to and you can provoke those behaviors in more like a game reality, like the crosses,
Can you go
shots from
back
different.
to the start of the session, Miguel? You go back.
Do
Start
you
of the
think
drill
do
or
you,
the
do
session?
you think you will provoke more behaviors or like I don't know exactly what you're trying to do this day. It's just a question for
Yeah,
me. That doesn't mean that
yeah.
I
Just
seen
for
something different.
There's a kid.
everyone watching, it's we're not criticizing Miguel. We appreciate Miguel sharing what he does on a day-to-day.
Absolutely.
Right here, we're trying to challenge each other's thinking. But now we zoom out again. Can you go back to the start of the session, Miguel?
Oh, the very beginning.
Very beginning. Okay, perfect. So you can pause here because it doesn't need to be played. You can pause it. So now we zoom out. So this is probably a very nice image of what we see nowadays. If we go to the training pitch and yeah, we see there's a team working on the other half of the pitch, and then you got the goal players working in isolation. This is the norm. This is the norm. And this is the whole reason. This is the whole reason behind this beautiful conversation that we're having, and I appreciate both of your time for contributing to the conversation. That this is normal for everybody, and no one even questions that. Can we improve this, or is this the best that we got? Because I still see even at the top level professional, I still see goalkeepers making very simple mistakes, and they get 100, 1,000 repetitions a week, but they still make the same mistake. And going back to the reference of a football action, Miguel said it that in basic action training, which this is basic action training, communicating is not communicating in the football environment is not present in this training activity. Deciding is not, or limited, which is less because you said it was random, is very limited uh in this activity. And if we really zoom out, this means that we are underloading the goalkeeper in terms of their decision making and in terms of their communicating by putting them in isolated situations. And then on match day, we expect so much out of them, and they still make easy mistakes. How can that be?
Was that a question or a comment?
That's something to maybe someone has a pop-up.
Because in today's world, basic action training equals football action training.
So they are in today's world, basic action training and football action training, with team training, is at the same level.
Yeah, and then there's a hope that the translation happens. But even then, the training environment is not the same as the game environment, the actual 11v11 in the match.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that.
So even then, we could train as many football actions as we can, but come the actual match day on the Saturday, can the goalkeeper, since we're talking about goalkeepers, can the goalkeeper still perform at a 100% and keep a clean sheet? Unless the opponent scores at a higher ability than the goalkeeper's shot stop ability.
If he shoots at a much better level,
at a much better level than the goalkeeper can save.
Scoring is the result. Yeah, because if we take the activity that you showed us, for example, that box is crowded on match day.
Yeah.
anything can happen. He dives, deflection, boom, goal.
Yep.
He's cheating, near post goal. But in the activity, it looks like he already knew where the ball was going, and you said he knew where the ball was going. So he's already leaning. He's already putting all his weight on one side. But then on the match, he has no clue where the shot's going, and now you're conditioning the brain to cheat to the right side. So now naturally, all the body weight shifts on the right leg because that's what the he's been conditioned to do. And now it's difficult to react to the left side because he's been conditioned to put all his weight on the right side all week.
Yep.
And maybe even Miguel, if you bring that similar situation, it's in this short video, in a more game environment, maybe we are also increasing the level of communication, of the verbal communication between the goalie player and his center back, how to handle those situations. Maybe that shot is coming from that angle. Maybe he's gonna develop the communication with the center back, like to maybe step to prevent it, or maybe he's working with the left back to press or force in a different manner to affect the quality of the cross from the opponent player. Or maybe he will develop the communication, the verbal communication with the center back to come and intercept those crosses. So it's just like, and it's gonna be like more. It's like it's not gonna be linear situations, which will definitely require the communication and also a decision, and then execution of that decision
Yeah, I think
at the same time. Yeah.
this gives a fantastic starting point because now we can take the references that we discussed and see what the best solution is. Because I don't disagree that there might be a place for isolation training.
Yes.
Because there could be deficiencies, because maybe you have to fix this because now a problem is created because of too much weight now on the right leg, and now you have to fix this. But if you can't fix this at football, at the football level, or football in the football context, then there needs to be a pathway to fix it.